Hi, Ed.
How are you, Marianne?
I am great, and I'm lucky enough to say this is my second time seeing you this morning because I saw
Well,
you out of the corner of my eye at Truth. Thanks for being here.
my pleasure.
And to the listeners who maybe don't know you, although I find that highly doubtful, this is Ed Cashin, founder of Truth Training. And before we jump into it, I just want to, Truth Training, by the way, in East Hampton, New York, excuse me. But before we jump into it, I just want to say something that's super interesting to me. With these interviews, I tend to introduce somebody and then read their bio. And when it came time to get a bio from Ed, he didn't have one. And what I find so just on brand and amazing and interesting about that is that, of course, Ed doesn't have a bio about himself because Ed is one of the few people that is truly 100% of service to others. And he is one of those special souls who I feel very blessed to have in my life, who just is out in the world, changing people's lives, bettering people's lives, inspiring others to change people's lives. And it's such an honor to have you here, Ed. Thank you for making this time. And I would love to just put the ball in your court and share with us, where your journey began and where you discovered this passion of yours for fitness and adventure and all the good stuff that we're going to hear about.
I have to think back quite a ways, and I always kind of come to the same place. In 8th grade, when I started wrestling, I had a wrestling coach who was very much a strength coach, and the idea was to get as small as possible, but as strong as possible. So we started doing a lot of strength training, and it was just the result of what was going on, I think, more in my mind of how good that felt, that it wasn't about the result of what I look like or even really how strong I was. It was how it made me feel. And I pretty much haven't stopped since. That was when I was 13, and I really haven't missed a week since.
That's so okay. So was it the coach
He was
in
both.
particular?
He was really dynamic. He had a lot of energy. He was a really good role model. He had a great work ethic, and and got us to understand discipline and what it was like to, set some time aside to get that done in order to better yourself. And I don't think he meant that all physically.
Right.
I think it was like a full package there, which for me was that especially at that age, at like 13, or such a tough age for young people. It gave me some confidence. It made me feel a little bit better of where I was at the time.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up near Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Yeah,
Okay.
like in not the Rust Belt, but I grew up in a place that was, very conservative, a lot of farming, a lot of coal, real blue collar, definitely back then. And, being strong was very useful back then.
Right.
We used to shovel snow to make money, and we'd go out there for 7-8 hours a day in our plastics to lose weight and make money at the same time during wrestling season. And we definitely had, I think, an early exposure to hard work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Back.
that shaped you, it sounds like, literally, physically. And yeah.
Yeah, I think there was some of that. I feel like, the body being used as an instrument and not an ornament, not worrying, just being strong and being useful in some ways.
Totally. So it's like you're actually connecting the workout to usefulness. That's really powerful that you had that at such a young age. Because there's definitely kids that grew up doing things, shoveling and whatnot, but maybe didn't connect it to the actual benefits of it. So to have that knowledge at that age sounds really like it was kind of something that made a big impact on you. So you became a wrestler, clearly. Was that a huge part of your life?
It was, I think, where I grew up, sports were looked upon as the most important thing, much more than even academics. So that was sort of our chance. If we did well, if we excelled, we would have a chance to go to college and get scholarships. And a lot of my friends, I actually didn't take that path myself, but a lot of my friends did, and they ended up, wrestling at different colleges around the country or going to the Naval Academy and wrestling there. So it was definitely a way out too, I think. But I think for me, the idea, again, the hard work just made me feel good. Just made me feel good after, like, satisfied. This weird, even at a young age, I rest better. I feel better. There's a connection more to the feeling afterwards, like, putting in the work hard and then reaping the benefits of even feeling better afterwards.
Were you competitive?
I have to say I was not. I probably was. I would consider myself more passive. I don't have any of that. Even with my children, I'm not the one yelling. I'm sitting. Right. I'm not standing. No, I have to say I was not.
Yeah, no, I think there's something to that, though, because you were just doing this because it felt satisfying to you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You were in it for completely different reasons, which honestly, Ed, I have to say, I find that so interesting and, like, kind of wise, old soulish of you at such a young age.
There's also community, right? You have all my friends wrestled, all my friends played football. My friends were very active, and I'm sure that's part of it. So there was all that. I did have a lot of alone time too. When I was working, I worked at a very young age, paper route, shoveling snow. And as soon as I had working papers, I was working. So the idea of that feeling, I think it was all inclusive with the community, with my friends, with the feeling. It was just, to me, it was the perfect life. Like the idea of, like, this is how I want to feel. And if I can control how I feel, what's better than that?
Yeah. Wow. Do you have siblings?
Yes. I have a brother and a sister. I was middle child. My sister lives in Shelter Island.
Oh, cool.
Major mentor for me, incredible person. And my brother and I have kind of followed the same path. We went to the same college. We had the same major. We concentrated on the same things. He's a trainer. We've gone through a lot of our lives, paralleling each other and crossing each other's paths a lot too.
Oh, where is he? Does he live in New York?
Right now, he bounces around. He works with a family that I set him up with, and he works wherever that family is. So,
got it. That's so cool.
Yeah,
nice hookup.
Yeah, and I get to be the holiday, trainer. Like I'm the substitute once in a while, which I was primary in the beginning, but things have shifted, and it's been amazing, and he's been great, and I really am lucky so many ways to have that. I mean, I really, my siblings are incredible. My brother and sister are amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know that your sister was on Shelter Island.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, which is, for anyone who's not from this area, is just 20 minutes away. Well, that's very cool.
I basically I made her marry a really good friend of mine. So my sister is a healthcare economist, and she travels. Before COVID, she traveled for 150, 200 days a year, and then as things started to, our mother was sick, and we kind of collaborated. We got together again. Like, she was living in Germany at the time. Things were changing in her life, so we all kind of got together through those hard times, and then she came out to the Hamptons, and she rented a house, and it was great. It was so awesome to have her there. And I had a friend who was single and age appropriate and all that, so it was great, and Perfect. It has been amazing. And since COVID, where she was basically like a launching point here, going to JFK to travel all the time, her work has consolidated a little bit, and she does a lot more from home, and is around a lot. And she is a big help in every way. She's a great supporter. She loves my kids. It's perfect. I'm lucky.
Oh, That's so awesome. So you have 3 kids, right?
So
Is that right?
yes, I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. And how old are they all?
So Connor's 13, Liam is 18, and Dylan is 19.
And Dylan is your daughter, who is like, I heard super Navy SEAL quality, like level.
Yeah, yeah, she's at the Naval Academy. She's studying economics, and she seems to be really enjoying that time. And my son's at Cortland. He's studying sports management, and he is enjoying that time. Know that because he never calls me. And then my son, who's 13, is at the middle school here in East Hampton, and he's running cross country right now and seems to be enjoying his time too.
Awesome. So clearly the apples did not fall far from the tree.
Yeah,
But
I think there's a little, they've got it's a different approach for sure, but yes, I think
yeah.
that they all find a lot of satisfaction and a lot of calmness in the hard work that they do. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like commitment. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 The benefits of committing to something.
Yeah.
So okay, so back to you. You had a lot of friends who continued wrestling and sports at the college level, but if I heard correctly, you didn't, right? What did you do after high school?
So I did go to college. I went to Lock Haven University. They were number 3 in the country at the time. There was no way I was breaking into that lineup. Not a chance. Just was not there in any way. So I put most of my attention towards my academics. The first time I was not a good student in high school. I was a terrible student. I never missed a day of school because I liked to hang out with my friends. I never had a pencil, but I was very much there. However, I did feel a little bit of a instinctual push to expand, and then in school, I decided not to go to any sports until my sophomore year. I played rugby, and I really loved that. It was a lot of fun. We played sophomore, junior, and senior year. We were pretty good. We started the team, and that was another form of, again, physicality that was really satisfying. The idea of getting beaten up out there and then, recreating afterwards and talking about, what happened was really nice.
Yeah, rugby's crazy, man. I think
Yeah.
did I read somewhere that Mike also did you guys play rugby together?
Yep. I brought Mike out here. Mike was a fraternity brother of mine at Lock Haven. I brought him here in 1990.
Yeah, you're bringing people here. You're building a community around you. I get it now.
To have, yes, it's important to me.
I'm seeing how this works now.
Yes.
All right, so you played rugby, which is totally insane. And then, so what's next in your journey after you finish? And what did you study, actually? I'm interested.
So
in that
it was
too.
health science, but it was basically lab work. We really didn't get into the physical part of training. There weren't many trainers going. It wasn't really happening at the time. So most of my work was lab work. We did ergometer work. We did different testing through lactate threshold, max VO2. We used old Monarch bikes. You probably remember those Monarch bikes from back in the day. That was what we used as a standard. It was very, very antiquated. I had some brilliant teachers. So I was a lab rat in a way. Most of the stuff we did was really clinical, and there was not much application at all. And I figured I'm just going to keep working out. I'm going to be my own physical person. I'm going to learn this. But, I didn't declare my major until I was a junior because I didn't think there was any way to make money. I didn't know what I was going to do. And my mom was like, hey, I think you have to declare a major. I said, Mom, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I like to work out. That's the only reason I'm doing this. And then she sent me this book. I can't remember what it was called. It was like something about do what you love and then the rest will fall into place. I can't remember the name, but it was a a book about a lady who loved cats, and then she became a veterinarian. And I was like, I declared a major. I read the book. I'm like, all right. So once I declared a
I love
major,
your mom.
yeah, she was a killer. Yeah, she was great.
What an
It was a
awesome mom move.
really a powerful moment in my life because I looked at it as boring. I didn't want to do the corporate fitness thing. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It was not. I needed to move. I needed to be a little bit more physical. I didn't want to sit there and just do testing on people. So I got really lucky. I mean, I have to say I got really lucky. I was in my senior year, and I had a professor through the years that was, I don't know why. I did work hard, but she picked me out of all of her students, and she said, come here. And like, what's up? And we were friends, and we were close in age. She was only about 25, and I was, 22. So she goes, I want you to look at this opportunity. And it was someone from East Hampton was looking for a trainer to go to Europe to train someone. And I said, what is training? And she goes, just work out like you work out. Like just, if there's any application to what you're learning, try it out, see what you can do. And so I was really nervous. Like they want me to go to Switzerland and work and train. Like, and I didn't really know. I didn't know what the Hamptons, like that's a whole nother thing. So
yeah,
I called my mom, like, I don't know, like this is a huge opportunity, I think, but it's a big, I'm a homeboy. I live at home. I'm from Pennsylvania. I don't know this world at all. And I didn't know the Hamptons obviously were happening, but I didn't know anything about it. So my mom's like, look, give it a shot. Who cares, right? So I did. I answered. It was a person who lived here that owned Body Tech at the time, who was working with Bianca Jagger and Ross Bleckner, Calvin Klein, name dropping, but these are people.
Well,
so
that was the Hamptons then, right?
Right.
Those were the names. Yeah.
There was a gentleman that named Thomas Amann, who was an art dealer from Switzerland, who was on Steve Ross's boat. And with all that group and Peter, my boss or future boss, was the trainer on the boat, and the gentleman from Switzerland said, I want a personal trainer. Like I can afford it for this is great. So that was the opportunity that presented itself. So Peter's like, come out for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and then let's get you prepped up and we'll get you ready and we're going to ship you out in 2 weeks. I'm going to work with you, basically night and day for the next 2 weeks. So I got my stuff and I started researching rich people because I didn't see $100 bill until I was 23. So I saw their clothes that they wore and I saw suits. And so this is no lie, by the way. This is 100% true. So I bought a suit. It was summertime. Now I don't know anything about anything. So I went to like JCPenney in Pennsylvania and I saved up my money. I bought a suit, a corduroy brown suit with a blue knit tie. Like it looked like my grandmother made the tie. So, and then I thought I got a bunch of clothes that would work for what we were doing because I saw what rich people wore. So I got out so far and then I somehow got to the city. I took 2 buses. I took the bus to New York City and then took the bus. And this was in July. I was supposed to leave in August to go to early August to go to Switzerland. So I had my corduroy brown suit on and I get off the bus. And my boss is like, and he went to my college. Remember, that's how the connection happened. And we worked out in a college in the bottom of a church, in the basement of a church. It was called Rogers Gym. And that's where we all trained. And he had the same experience as me. So dungeon, really like hardcore musclehead. So I get off the bus and he just looks right through me and he's still waiting. And I'm like, are you Peter? He's like, are you Ed? I said, yeah. I said, I'm here. I talked, there were no, at the time there were no, I don't think there were computers. If they were, I didn't have any. We never saw each other. We spoke on the phone. So he goes, why are you wearing that?
Why?
I said, what do you mean? He goes, it's July. You're wearing a corduroy suit, man. Like, what are you doing? So I felt like ridiculous, but I'm like, I
Aw.
didn't know. I thought I never had, my interview was over the phone. So I thought maybe I was going to sit down, whatever. So he put
Right.
me in a little tiny like bed and breakfast that was right on Main Street in Amagansett. He goes, get upstairs. You have 10 minutes, get your workout stuff, and let's train. We're going to work out.
Okay.
I go upstairs, I change, I put on my workout clothes, and he's like, what are you doing? I thought rich people worked out in collared shirts. So I had a Izod short sleeve and chino shorts. He goes, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm here to work out. He's like, where are your gym clothes? I'm like, I'm wearing. He was like, do you wear that at Rogers gym? Did you wear that in college? I'm like, well, I thought rich people worked out in button. I didn't know anything. So he's like, I'm not going to.
Great.
Yeah.
So
So
great.
he kept me there. I was supposed to leave in 2 weeks. I was there for 4.5 because it felt like he had to teach me everything. I was green. I was green as they come. And I think he was like, I'm working at, with nothing right here, even though he knows what he's doing or whatever, but he did get me there. And I did, I think I was there for 10 weeks. I went into the fall semester of my senior year in Switzerland. Had a great experience. I really learned a lot. It was a little bit different time, as you know, like in the 90s, it was all about machines. And in the area of Zurich that I lived, I would walk in. It was not my style. I was at the time a barbell person. I never used any cables. It was all about dumbbells, barbells, strength. Like pushing weight, and I had to adjust. But what I loved about the experience was I got to do conditioning. So we did like park courses. We got to run. We had a chance to do the strength training in a different world, but it was a learning process. And it were the Kaiser, the air machines, remember?
Yeah, of course.
So that was a whole adjustment. But after 10 weeks, I was completing my internship, and he wanted to hire me full time. And I said, look, I have to go back to college. I had 2 classes to finish, and I wanted to finish college. It was a goal of mine. So I called Mike Bale.
Yeah.
I said, can you work for me in Switzerland while I finish my degree? And Mike flew to Switzerland and worked for me for 3 months. And he's got his own stories and his own version and his own journey there. And I stayed there for a while. I moved back to Switzerland. I was there for close to a year, and I couldn't get a work visa. I was working off of a tourist visa, and renewing that became a problem. I loved my clients. I loved it. It was a real. It was hard to make that decision. But what I recognized through that time was that I wanted to go back to the beach. I love the beach. I grew up in a very different world. And I love the fact, I remember seeing the people at the gym, a lot of people coming in, say, from after an AA meeting and sitting down and then talking with each other and communicating. And it was the hedge fund manager talking to the artist, talking to the bartender. I never experienced anything that was so nice and complete. It was wholesome, and nobody cared what they did. So I'm like, this is where I knew, even when I went to Switzerland, at some point when I get back, I'm going to be moving out to the beach. Like I want to be here. I want to be around that, regardless of, but again, the money thing, I didn't see the beach with Peter. I was working with him for 4.5 weeks. I didn't know where the ocean was. We were going 70 hours a week, and I didn't, I didn't know about all that or the parties, and I never got involved with that, but it was all there.
All right.
So that was something, like coming back was a freedom. Mike, I asked Mike, I said, why don't you come with me? Let's do this together. We'll rent a house. We found a place, you're going to love this, on Bluff Road, N27, but one of those surf shacks. It was $700 a month. We split it, $350. He was a bartender. I was his bouncer, but we worked the gym. We were lifeguards. We had 6 different jobs. We'd do anything, just to pay the rent. And, through those years, we, it's funny because Mike, as you know, like when it comes to the world of strength, Mike's right there. Like he and I started the journey together, and we're still in it. It's kind of funny. And he grew up in Pennsylvania. Mike was the first one when we were working at Bodytech. He got fired we were out all night at Oceans, and he fell asleep on the windowsill. And the members liked him so much, nobody wanted to wake him up. So they would be sneaking by, getting a towel so he could sleep. It was crazy. So, and then he ended up buying Body Tech. He ended up, taking Body Tech over.
So he
But
got fired at one point, but ended up buying
he
it.
was the first one, yes. And then I left fairly early. I started to build a clientele that didn't allow me to, put any hours in at the desk. But yeah, that's where we got started. And out here it was, Peter who kind of recruited me from college. Thank God. I mean, just my instructor to pick me out was like, oof.
Yeah. I mean, it's so cool. Thanks for sharing all this. This is what an awesome story. But what I love too is I love that you started off by saying, it was luck. And like, yeah, there was luck, of course, that your teacher, your instructor had this thought that you should check this out. But it was the combination, right, of that and your mom believing in you.
Yeah.
And you just taking a leap of faith and just going for it. And then being humble enough to like figure out, how do these people dress? What do I need to do? How do I need to look? And like doing whatever you thought you had to do.
Yeah.
And then just doing it and then working your butt off to like get there. Those 10 weeks that you were training, I mean, that must have been super intense.
It was so good. So good. And I can say that like the confidence, I was never that confident. It was not a strong part of my own mindset. It wasn't a part of my personality. It was something that took a lot of time. I was fairly shy. And when I finished like working in Switzerland, going back to finish my degree, again, I had 2 classes. I walked in there with all this like information, this that I felt like I could apply to anyone in any circumstance. So I looked over at the machine area and I see the president of our university doing something completely wrong. So I walked up to him. I said, listen, I'm in the school. I'm a senior. I just finished my internship. You're not doing this correctly. I'd love to train you for free. I just want to keep my skills going because I think this is where I want to go if the opportunity comes up again. And he was, yeah, sure. And I trained him for the rest of that year. And then he was addicted. He was doing bench press competitions around the world. He gave me the most beautiful recommendation. Oh my God. He was 80 years old doing bench press competitions. Not now. I mean, I haven't kept in touch, but I know 15 years after I graduated, he wrote me a letter saying how thankful he was because he then took my brother on. My brother lived in his mansion in the basement. And I don't know how long it lasted. I don't think it's going on now, but I know that he had a trainer from our fraternity for the next decade living with him. And that became something. Everybody was looking to get that job so they could, they didn't have to pay for their housing. And, he was great anyway. He was a great guy. But that, I would have never done that. I would have never gone up to anybody for any reason ever. And to go up there and to have such a great relationship with him. And that was really, when it comes to like the application of what I knew in my own training and then what I learned through school. Again, I didn't really get that experience in Switzerland. I had Kaiser. I was trying to work on figuring that out, but the natural state of where I was down in that basement of the college gym, and that's where I felt like I excelled, where I started to understand the nuances of positioning and setup and rooting, like those principles that I knew I couldn't really use when someone was sitting on a piece of equipment all the time and then pressing a button and working on one little body part. So but that was also a really important part of my experience for sure.
And you still, it sounds like it still kind of is. It's like a part of you.
Yeah, it's really important for me. Like my goal is to, get it right. I always say practice makes permanent, right? Practice makes permanent. Like perfect practice is what we have to like at least work towards, because if practice makes permanent and we're doing it wrong, then we do it wrong all the time. So we need to make that adjustment to not, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be, better than what it was.
Yeah. And that's, it feels like, I don't know, maybe I'm overstepping, but it feels like you apply that to everything you do, not just working out.
Yeah, I try. I mean, I think we're always learning, right? We're always students,
100%.
and if we're open to someone else's wisdom or to new information, it's really important for us to at least look at it, go through it a little bit and see if it works for us. And that's really where I am now. I think more than ever is to all these things I was not even that long ago, 10 years ago, closed. I wouldn't even look at. Like, here's my domain. This is what I'm going to work on. I'm going to go an inch wide and a mile deep just on this. You know what? I learned a lot. I learned a lot about, I'm not using a band. I want to use a heavy kettlebell. I'm going to use a barbell. I'm not going to use a cable. No, now it's about you use what you have and you make the best with what you have, what's in front of you at the time.
So, and it's also, just to rewind for a second, about how you were talking about how you are shy or relatively shy. And it's so interesting to hear you say that, because I feel like that kind of, I see you, so I see it, how you approach people. And obviously I've been in that, you've approached me, and you approach everybody with such a gentle kindness and awareness of where they're at. And I can't help but think, like, it's almost like you just remember every time. You remember what it feels like to be new to something, right? And it's so cool that you haven't, all these years later, you haven't lost touch with the start of it all.
I have this mantra that, strength is an attitude. It's not a number. Strength is going in there with an open mind to learn, to understand, to better yourself. It doesn't matter where you are. I wish there were no numbers. Honestly, I wish we didn't have to count. I wish we didn't have to see what was on the dumbbell, on the kettlebell. It doesn't matter. That's why I love the TRX, the idea where, who knows, we can train and we're getting all the benefits. It doesn't matter if you're 5 inches closer to the wall because it's a little bit harder. None of it matters. Right. The idea of us doing is what makes us all there for the same reason. It makes us there to better ourselves and to possibly learn something. And none of that matters. The ego is the worst thing in the world for any strength training. Why would you want to go to that limit so that you hurt yourself so you can't do it anymore? It's better to learn a few things than to scatter yourself all over the place and not know anything or learn anything.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And that's so smart. And, I've seen, having kids of my own and seeing them work with coaches through the years, a lot of coaches could use that knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah. Again, how it is, especially these kids. We've seen it all. I had some of the most incredible athletes, that I've either worked with or that I am friends with. And I watch the journey in some ways is the same. How much you go and you practice, it's all about the work ethic, what you're exposed to. But in the end, we're not really, it's a long journey, but we're not defined by what we do. We're defined by who we are. Yeah. So we don't need to put our attitude into our workout. We don't need to do that. We actually should take our attitude out of the workout and make life a little bit more calm and it's more satisfying. It's better. There's no competition. Doesn't matter. Whatever, if you're spending your time looking at your neighbor, you could have two eyes on what you're doing, right? Comparison. I always say comparison is the thief of all hard work. You can think you're doing the greatest thing, and all of a sudden you look and there's someone doing a backflip that's the same thing you were doing with a back. Who cares? Like, focus on yourself. Focus. And when you can put that aside, and that's when it all starts. That's when you realize, I can do this for life. I don't need to compete here in jumping jacks or whatever. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to find my leverage. I'm going to find my boundaries, and then those boundaries are going to expand anyway if you just keep going. They're going to expand naturally.
Yeah, totally. And it's so interesting. Yeah. And like, it applies to, it does apply to everything, even business. You're making me remember this time that a mentor of mine said to me, don't worry about what the competition's doing. Don't look at the competition. Just
Yeah.
do what you do. Just keep going. And I didn't heed his advice. I didn't listen to him. And I always reflect on that. Like, yeah, he was right.
Absolutely.
That's where I made mistakes. And that's not what this is about, but it is interesting. It's where mistakes are made when your attention is distracted by competition. And it's the same thing on the gym floor.
Absolutely.
If you're not looking at yourself, God, this,
yeah. That's, I mean,
powerful.
like, John Wooden, probably the most, I think, as far as basketball coaches, he might have the most wins. I'm not exactly sure. He didn't look at other people's tapes. He focused on his team and what he could do and execute what he had in front of him, not what was out there that he wasn't sure about. And I have to say that is that. And then, like, having some modesty, like going in this and saying, okay, if I'm not ego driven, if I'm not going to be competitive, how am I going to proceed with this? What do I need in order to wake up in the morning? What do I need to keep this going if I don't have that competitiveness? Right? I'm not like have this desire to crush something. Well, it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit. You become modest, and you don't have to show off, and you don't have to, take your shirt off in the middle of something. You can just do what you do. I mean, I always think of the All Blacks, the most winning team percentage-wise in all of sports. And they have something called clean your barn. So, or sweep the sheds. Actually, there's two different versions. So no matter what, they win all the time pretty much. And they go to the visitors, locker room, and they clean their locker room too. It's just a sign of modesty to say, look,
Totally.
we're great, but so what? We're all the same. We're the same in the end. And that always, modesty is to me much more inspiring than all the other bells and whistles. All those lights don't do it for me. I think I've always felt that way, but I don't think that I always could maybe say it as clearly. I was a little confused on that, but now I'm sure that it's never, we're all in different places at different times. And, we do the best we can in each place that we're in.
Yeah. Whew. So speaking of, all right, so you're out here and you guys, you're renting a place. So what happens? Like, when did you become a business owner?
Yeah. So, I went through this for a long time. I mean, I was down in your basement. Yep. I did remember a little bit of work there. I really, my whole transition, like, I'm a trainer, right? So that's where I kind of dedicated my life of trying to accumulate knowledge. When I can work with one person, I can get in there a little bit deeper. I can watch a little bit more. I can be more focused because I don't have all this going on at one time. So I'm able to hone in a little bit on those skills. And those aren't the verbal skills often. Or the cues of managing a class. They're the fine tune of what I want, if it was a class, everyone to do at the same time. That there was all that of like setup and all that. So I started doing a little bit. I did a little bit at B East. I did a little bit of TRX training because I don't know. I don't want to say something I'm not sure, completely sure about. But I was one of the first people to bring the TRX out here. I remember a friend. I was really down on training. I was really down on the world of strength and conditioning overall because everything became machines all through the 90s. And then I looked over, I was in a gym somewhere, I don't even know where, and some guy was hanging upside down with his foot through a foot cradle of the T-Rex, like doing like inverted push-ups. And I was like, I need that. So I went over there, like, what is that? And then I bought one. I had a swing set in my front yard. I hooked it up and I spent hundreds of hours on it. I couldn't believe that's what re-inspired me. That was probably, I don't know, 2000. That was like amazing for me to get that. And then I started doing classes at Albert's Beach. I put up T-Rex. I'd hang them all over trees. Anywhere I could do T-Rex, I wanted to do T-Rex because it made me feel athletic. It made me feel like I could merge some of the athleticism into strength training. And then I'm like, I need to go further with this. So spent some time at B East, and then I was approached by a client, like, look, you have all these modalities, maybe you want to bring this to the masses. And I did. So my feeling was, okay, here's my personal training. And this is the same kind of stuff I'm doing anyway. But, not everybody can afford personal training. Let's make it accessible for everybody. If I feel that confident about my principles, then I should be able to have more people have access to these principles, like allow more people to see, and then they can, make their own choice what they want to do. So I had a client that was interested, coincidentally, someone that I went to high school with and ended up in New York City. He's like, I want to open up a gym called Exceed Physical Culture. I want you to be, a partner. I want to set up what you do in a way we can do this inside, but for, group training. And there'll be a personal training, section. So that's what we did. We set it up. I loved it. We put one in right away in the Hamptons in Exceed off of Plank Road. And it went gangbusters. It was phenomenal. I have to say, I don't reflect, again, I just don't, for some reason, it was just what was going on. I'm not proud of myself. It's just what was going on. I really mean that. It just felt natural. Everybody was happy. Everybody was in a good mood. We're getting this done. This was like, and they believed in the modalities that I was offering, which made me feel good for sure. But I don't know about like the business ownership as far as like I never really thought about it. Never. Right. So after like 3 or 4 years, I was going back and forth to New York City. I had young kids. I didn't want to do that. So you
opened one, you had one in the Hamptons and one in New York City.
And then, yes, and then we opened a third. So it was Upper East Side, Tribeca, and the Hamptons. So I had a lot of my friends that I worked with, people like Jim Kennedy, that I worked with through the years to say, hey, come on, let's do this in an inside climate controlled place. And we could put these monkey bars up and we could hang the T-Rex off the monkey bars. We could have really, a lot of fun there. So we ended up having Exceed. And then I think about after 3 or 4 years, I just didn't want to go back to the city anymore. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do the grind. They didn't try to open up. They closed. We had some issues anyway with zoning in the Hamptons. So we closed that down. But I was already like, I need to continue this. Like, I want this to continue. And
if you mind me jumping in, you had a following. I mean, you've got people coming to take your class.
Right. When I separated from my partners, I'm like, I don't want to pay out. I want the mailing list to the, I want the mailing list, right? You can understand that. Like, totally. I want to be able to continue this. If you can't do this, then I will. Yeah. So Pat Grantham, I knew Summer Kicks was going on and I knew that it was empty. We were deciding to close this down like Labor Day for Exceed in the Hamptons. So I went over to Pat, who I knew from 1990, and we're going to fast forward this to 2014. Okay. And there she is. So I said, look, Pat, can we do something here? She went to and she watched a couple workouts. She's like, I love it. I think it's great. So we had a little bit of an interim. And during that time, I was at the neighborhood house outside. It did not rain one day, but we had 30 days of outside training and classes. And I have to say it was fairly well attended. And at the same time, I didn't have any money. So I had a friend basically help me out a little bit. We put in monkey bars at the old Summer Kicks. I was thinking of a name and I came up with Truth Training, to be honest with you, because when I was writing it down, I never had a business plan. I'm like, the name's important and what am I trying to do here? And I came down to, I just want to give people the facts. Like, I want to give my factual, I don't want to put a creative spin on anything. Truth Training is, we're going to give you the facts. If you look up, how to get strong, there's 7 movement patterns. We're going to go over each of those 7 movement patterns and we're going to make a progressive overload. We're going to do this in a safe environment with a good community. We're going to be training. We're not working out. Working out is just like that day, that second. We're training. This isn't a goal. This is a mission. We're going for this. Goals end, missions, they stay forever. And it kind of, like, again, I don't know, like, is it a good name? I don't know if it's not, if it is or not, but it's just what it was. And we kind of had some stickers made. We didn't have any money. So I got to hire like Harvey O'Brien, who had just finished a long-term job with Gurney's, I think, and a couple of the other places out there, Montauk. So, and he was great. So we started with a couple mats, a couple of kettlebells. Again, I loaned the money, or I borrowed money to put the monkey bars up, and it was great. We got some jump ropes. To this day, you probably noticed this. There's nothing at any of my gyms that you plug in. Zero.
Yeah.
There never will be. There's no place to sit down. There's no place to sit down. If you're sitting, you're rowing. If you're sitting, you're biking. We don't have a place to sit down. You can go outside and sit down, but we are, when we're there, we're there. And you can't drift away. You can't drift away doing those workouts. It's all about focus.
It's one of the things I love. I've actually thought about this because this will be the first winter season I'm out here for a long time. It's been a long time. And I was like, where do we put our coats? That's the best thing about Truth. It's just raw. It's like just you are here to work out, I can make it from the car without my coat. But it's so good. I love that you just pointed that out. I just need to recap because, oh my gosh, you were in a partnership. You had 3 locations. You are a dad at this point, going back and forth, which is a lot. For anyone who doesn't know, that is not a normal commute. It's exhausting. You're giving your heart and soul to on either end of it, right? Because I can imagine you don't get a break because it's not, you had a studio in each of those locations.
I was nicknamed through the group of independent trainers, the Terminator, because I'd take the 4:30 bus, Mondays and Thursdays, take the 4:30 bus. I would get off the bus and I would teach 2 classes immediately, 8:30 and 9:30. And then I would train people all the way through and then start nighttime. And then I get back on the bus. I train people until 7 o'clock, get on the 8 o'clock bus, go to bed at 11:30, get up, get going, and then do the same thing on Thursdays. And I did that for, years and years, but it was never, that's just what I did. I never thought about it. It just was what I did. This is my life. This is my job, get to work, but they would laugh because there was no food involved. There was no, it was just work, that was, and that's what I did, during the off season of the Hamptons, we did keep Exceed open then, and it was busy, but I did have to supplement. They also wanted, they wanted me to be there. They wanted me to, which was fine. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong. It was great. It was just, it got to a point where I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
So it's not, it gets to a point. I'm sure at this point, your kids, by the time you parted ways with Exceed, do you remember how old your kids were at that point?
So that was 2014, because even when I parted ways, I was still going in there because I was trying to wind things down. I think it was a fairly amicable, breakup at that point. My kids,
they're
6, 7, and 1.
Oh my God.
Yeah. 6, 7, and 1. And that was a lot. Yeah, but I'm so happy that I did it. I have to say, I'm not a business person. Harvey really, people call him my brain. I just can't, I think of things, but I can't write them down. My world is different in my head. I just don't have any, I don't know how much money I make. I don't know how much money the gym makes. I don't know anything. I just do what I do. It somehow always worked. I don't know anything.
Which is super interesting because that means you must trust the people around you.
Insurmountably. Yes. And I'm trying to learn. I just don't have the brain. I don't have the capacity. I never liked the idea of this is weird, but accumulating money didn't make sense to me. It just I do what I do. It seems to be working out. Never have I. Now again, I'm trying, but so when my clients ask, I'm like, I don't know. I never knew how much I made in a year, what my salary is, or it fluctuates, it changes, but I never cared that much to worry about it. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong there, but the gym's still open, and
something totally right
and
there.
We're doing well. I think everybody's happy. But this is not, everything that I do is like, I am very, very, my range is very narrow. I know it. When, I have this little passion for coffee, and I was going to coffee college to do a roasting course. And I asked Jim, I said, Jim, I'm going to have you come. I'm going to pay for you to get the coffee, degree. Because then I don't train coffee. I said, I realize that, but the machine's going to break down and I can't fix anything. So you're going to fix the machine. So all that, Jim fixed the machine like 3 or 4 times. And I need a lot of help. With what I do, I need a lot of help, a lot of support.
Okay, wait. So we need to hear about the coffee.
Yeah.
What is the coffee? Well, first off, so just to quickly recap, because it's incredible. So you parted ways with Exceed, and then you gathered up your resources. You did what you needed to do. You trained outdoors for, you said 30 days, I believe. You had no range. It's amazing. And then you worked out a deal with Pat Grantham. That happened next, right? And
Yes.
Just for listeners who don't know, because they may be, younger, Pat Grantham had like one of the original exercise spaces in the Hamptons. And she's like what we look at her sort of as the OG of OGs.
Yes.
Anyone and everyone is somehow connected to Pat Grantham. Much respect. And so you were able to partner with her. And I remember that actually, you were working out of her space. Okay, I don't want to lose coffee, but
No, that's okay. No.
So we have to get to that. But where did you go after Pat's space? What was the next location?
Okay, so we'll do a little fast. So we were there from 2014 to COVID.
Wow, you were there that long. I didn't realize that. Wow. Okay.
And when COVID happened, there was again, everybody has their own experience there. And my experience was I think just, like everybody else, it was just turned the world upside down.
Yeah.
My gym closed. I was doing a retreat in Costa Rica when my sister called, said, the COVID is here. You're going to have to social distance. She knew about this by working in other countries that have been through, pandemics before. So I didn't know what that meant. And she explained to me. So I had Jim, who was at the gym, to kind of put parking spaces at the gym with duct tape so that each person was 6 feet apart. I didn't know what it meant. I'm like, okay, we're going to figure this out. I got back. It was the last flight out, and we closed the next day. So that didn't happen. We went into overdrive again because I didn't pay attention. I wasn't there. I didn't understand what exactly was going on. So I regrouped. I met my sister. I'm like, she's like, you got to find another place. You have to be outside. And there's all these restrictions. So I started calling tennis. I was calling like different places like the first tennis place we went to was East Hampton Tennis in Buckskill. Yeah. And we were there. It was great. We got some work done. And then we kind of like overstayed. So we talked to Sport Time, and they let us, and we did this for a year. And I was just thinking about you, Marion, when you said about your coat. During COVID, after March, I got a call and I had an opportunity. Everything basically shut down for me. So actually it was in June. March is when it first happened. I got an opportunity to work and to be retained and to, continue to have income, but it was in Telluride. It was in Colorado. So a family contacted me and I did that. I lived in a camper for 3 months in a pasture, a cattle pasture. And I worked. It was a whole, 3 weeks of quarantine. Yeah. And then I lived in a trailer next to a few other trailers that were there for the same reason. And I, basically gave the keys to, there were no keys because it was outside, but I gave the responsibilities to Lisa and Jim and Harvey and Lindsay and Daria. And I said, good luck. I took the equipment. And we all kind of like pick up trucks. Like we split the equipment. Like, if you guys need anything, I don't know when we're going to see each other again. I don't know if we're ever going to see each other again. So we went our separate ways. We got that opportunity, and they put us a small little version of what we did at Truth. I think it was like 2 classes a day. It was fine. We were down 99% or something, but it kept everybody afloat. It was something. But I was gone, and I didn't I was there all of June, all of July, all of August, to a point when I said, I have to go home. I need to go home. I have to, this is great. I thank you for the opportunity. And that's when I called my brother and said, look, I know you don't like meeting new people. My client doesn't like meeting new people, but you guys might have to suck it up and meet each other and try it out. So I asked my clients, if you don't like him, you can fire him. That's fine, but give it a shot because I have to go home. And then I went home and I came back and it was, pretty unbelievable for me to see. And I remember going into the wintertime and what you were saying about your coat, I walked to the back of Sport Time. It was in January. There was snow. Someone shoveled off the snow and they were working out in ski outfits. They were in full swinging kettlebells with these puffy jackets on. It was amazing. It was great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, they did it. I think of like Marilyn and Kristen, these stalwart members that have always been there.
Yes.
They were the ones that kept us alive. They were the
beautiful.
ones.
Well, so, and you served them. I mean, your team served them.
I'll tell you, it was so. That's why you see the coffee at Strength Club.
Yeah.
Because I will never. I'm forever in debt to Strength Club. That again at Exceed they didn't want me to do that. I would put a towel over the camera because it would be all of my friends doing Strength Club because they didn't believe it. It was too goon-like because it was, it's so simple. It's so, we're standing around.
Right.
It's not what we would normally do.
Right.
So that is sort of I always think about to do a little bit extra for that group.
Wow.
That's for sure.
Wow. That's so beautiful. And then, gosh, that must have been, I'm just sitting in that moment of you coming back and seeing that.
It was pretty extraordinary. And then I started working. I started getting right in there.
Yeah.
I discovered a couple new bands while I was out in Colorado that I liked. And it was nice to kind of play the music. It was weird. It was sort of like a movie. Like watching these people work out to this music was almost, it should have been like the end of a movie. It was so natural. I can't explain it. But we did that. And then, again, opportunity. A young man from East Hampton actually tried to open during COVID to facilitate a need for people to work out, but it was maybe a little bit too early. It was a little bit, he was thinking ahead and just didn't work. So he approached me and then I realized that the landlords were my friends forever. The Bistrians I've known for, over 30 years. BJ was a friend of mine. We did a lot of mountain biking and stuff together when we were in our early 20s. So we worked it out. That was 2021. We were working a little bit outside. And then it fairly, once we were allowed in and then you had the option to wear a mask or not, most people, we just opened the windows. We had a lot of ventilation and they were receptive to working out without masks. Of course, some people did. Right. I pretty much kept my distance so I could speak and people could hear me, but I didn't, wear a mask most of the time. I would also teach outside. I would stand outside and give them cues. So that was something. And then we moved inside. I think it was May of 21, right before the season. And then it went rocking because people were looking for community. They were looking for something to do and to get a different physical and I think emotional experience. I give credit to the people that just worked out, in their basements and they did their thing, but to get out was like Shawshank Redemption. It seemed like a whole breath of life. So that was an important time. And through that, everybody was living out here. We had we were peaking as far as, numbers out there. I'm sorry, in truth, but it was quite dynamic going from outside, with a couple people to the snow into this beautiful facility with 2 floors and, climate controlled and freedom to move. And it was really extraordinary. And I think about that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a gift, It's really, I did not realize that was out of COVID. I didn't realize that. So what an incredible next chapter to go into after just a universal challenge for everybody.
Yeah.
Truth, you guys got this nice little reward for everyone.
Yeah.
For your team, for your community. It's just a perfect space for you.
And they,
Wow.
they also, they sold summer kicks. They sold the whole area during
Oh,
COVID. We had no place to go. I would have,
so you
like,
wouldn't have, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just, I feel very lucky. I have a lot of gratitude towards my journey. And I wouldn't, again, I don't see myself, I've never really worked a day in my life. I will always have some version of what I'm doing. I don't see a goal to stop. I don't see any reason to slow down or to shift at this point. I'm sure that will come, but for now, I don't want to retire. I don't want to play golf. I don't want to ride horses. I want to train. That's what I want to do. It's the same thing from when I was in 8th grade. I don't have any
Yeah.
different. The only constant in my life is the same
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. But what's interesting is because you have that constant, everything else around you kind of falls into place. It's hearing that.
Yeah,
It's just as long as you're staying on your path and you're remaining consistent and you're continuing to work your passion, I don't want to say passion, that's not your purpose, everything else kind of like comes together because you're ready.
Yes, that's a very good point. Absolutely. That is a very good point. I want to always be ready. And what I learned through COVID is to be accessible, to be light, to be flexible, to move, to shift. And that's all within the plan of what we do. So that was always my position. I didn't realize how important it was. The idea of, hey, you're going away? Okay, you're going to be in a hotel. A TRX and a jump rope and a yellow band all together is 4.7 pounds. Put in your carry-on and you'll work out and you're going to get it all done. And will it be perfect? No. Is it going to be enough not to lose anything? Absolutely. Yes. And it's going to make you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So on this vein of feeling good, where's coffee fall into the picture
Yeah,
here?
there you go, my shirt. So another strange thing. The more we talk, the stranger I realize I am. I had one surgery. I had a hernia, and it was I let it go for 5 years. So I needed to get it done. And like I told you, I haven't missed, a week of working out since 8th grade. So I knew this was happening. I was really, really worried that I was going to have to stop training. Coincidentally, I had a Russian doctor, just random, who understood kettlebells. And he's like, if this works, it works. You can, if kettlebell is 16K, you can swing, So I had my hernia, but I did have to take 2 days of bed rest. So I was in bed and I was really bored. I was going crazy. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. I was going crazy. So I don't know. I had a New York Times. I was going through something about coffee. I didn't drink coffee. For 30 years, I never drank coffee. And they went into this process of like, okay, you farm the coffee. They become cherries. And then the cherries, the coffee beans are the seeds from the cherry, but they have to dry. And then they need to be processed. They need to be washed. And then they need to be roasted. And then you have to get the coffee to the consumer and you have to, extract the coffee as like a barista would do. So I'm thinking to myself, right, I don't drink coffee, but this sounds really cool. So as Amazon can do, I ordered a tiny little coffee roaster you put on your counter. I'm like, I'm going to try this. I think this is really cool. So I got one and 2 days later, I was swinging a kettlebell. And I was like, but at the same time, it was like this interest in coffee got me crazy. I started looking things up and understanding like the roasting part is I like the idea of like things that are creative and science at the same time, just like training.
Yeah,
you
just
can
like
smell it, but at the same time, you have to control the heat and the air. But then there's this, you have to listen for these cracks. You have to look at the bean and see the color. So I started roasting coffee on my kitchen table in a little 1/2 pound roaster. And then I bought a bigger one that you had to use outside, but I worked with Andrew from Java Nation. I said, I would bring my coffee every day. I had no time, but I would drive to Bridgehampton every day. I'm like, can you try this? He's like, this is terrible. This is getting better. So I realized I couldn't home teach myself. Andrew was too busy. So I looked up the coffee roasting like schools, and I found one in Minnesota, in
Okay.
Minneapolis. So it was like a 40-hour course, but they did it in like 3 days, long days. And I happened to have my roasting coach was one of the sous chefs from the French Laundry. So this guy was an oracle. He like took the coffee
Are you
industry by
kidding
storm.
me?
Oh yeah, he was just, but he was so cool. Like he
That's
loved,
so
like
cool.
Burger King. He'd be like, I love this pickle. He loved everything about his
Mm-hmm.
life. So
Mm-hmm.
Derek was the roasting coach for both Jim and I. And Jim is he on everything. He learns very quickly. Anything that he wants to learn, he learns very quickly. So we dove in there, and when he's like, I thought like I'm going to be fixing this machine. He goes, what do you think? I said, I'm buying a machine. So I bought a machine, a 3K, 7-pound roaster that we had
Okay.
delivered. We put it together in Ross Fleckner's garage, and we roasted coffee out of his garage till he kicked us out. Because it does, it smells a little bit. There's smoke.
Yeah.
You have to have an exhaust system. And then we had, we opened up like a little roastery, and we on our free time, but we also put a gym in there. So we were training people and roasting coffee at the same time. It was bizarre. Yeah. And we had that from,
When was this?
we did this in Montauk in a shed. Yep.
I just need to.
Yeah,
I
I
need
know.
to pause for a second, because what I love about all this is that this is all because you had 2 days of no working out.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I knew it. I couldn't, I was making my clients by the cup. I was so addicted. I made them I would make them coffee. Every client before they came in, I made them try my coffee. It was great. That's what I don't know. I'm not sure what that is, but I can't stop myself. I know I can't stop myself. That's why I try to have other people put in the barriers for me. Like I knew I'm going to break the machine, so Jim's going to fix it. I know all this stuff is going to happen, but I still can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
So
well, it's excitement.
it was exciting, and we did great. We sold the
Yeah.
farm stands. We only bought farm gate, so we bought really expensive coffee,
Yeah.
and we sold it. It was expensive because we made sure the farmer got 3 times the price of like fair trade. We want to do the right
Mm-hmm.
thing. We want it to be
Mm-hmm.
sustainable. I did lose money on that for like every year I had it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was sort of like a mini man cave. It was a little bit like people come in during COVID. They called it the speakeasy, because we would open the door and we could work out and drink coffee. We had couches and a ping pong table there. You don't need much room to roast coffee. So
I don't want to go through COVID again. However, if we ever do, I want to experience this.
yeah,
And
we would roast steak.
I didn't
We'd
know
grill
about it.
there. We'd have cookouts. We'd roast steaks where the gym was. Like, yeah, we did a great job. It was fun. It was
That's
great,
awesome.
but it did run its course. We had to wind it down since just the world changed. The tariffs and the coffee got very, very expensive. It was the middle person for coffee, like the roaster. It's all but impossible these days. If you were spending, say, X, you were gonna do 2X for sure. So
Right.
I didn't mind losing money at all, but that was getting to a point where it was being a little bit almost foolish. Not that it wasn't
Right.
foolish before, but it was too much. So
Yeah.
yeah, we shut everything down, and we now I roast coffee. I still do. I roast it on my porch. So what was called like Cashin coffee roasters, I now call homeboy, because I roast it at home, literally at home. And I do cold brews. I do like micro batch. It takes me 45 minutes to roast 2 bags, but I do it anyway. And I roast
So good.
almost every day because it's
So
like
good.
meditative to me. It makes me feel good. It's calming. Yes, I like 2 cups a day. I don't drink more than that. I have a little kind of lab in my house that I really
very
enjoy.
cool.
So it's free time for me. It's simple. I do sell the coffee. I have my group that a lot of people from New York City, they still call me like, so I'll roast for them. It's basically roasting on demand.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
very
love it.
cool.
Yeah, and once in a while I still get behind, like, oh man, I have to roast 2 bags of coffee. It's not a big deal. I'll watch the Yankee game. I'll put the roaster on. It takes a half an hour to warm up. get a couple innings in. But when you're roasting, you have to really pay attention, or
You
it can
do?
go
Do
wrong.
you? Is it like
Yeah.
caramelizing sugar? There's like a moment.
You got it exactly. So it's like 1 minute can make a big difference, and then that always happened at the roasteries. People come in, we start talking. We'd be burning the coffee. We'd have to dump it out. We were always doing something wrong because we were always doing something else, playing ping pong.
Playing ping pong.
So my coffee's better than ever now because I'm actually paying attention to it even more. But it's important for me to do that. I need that. I can't explain. Everything I do is an extension of how I feel, and that kind of shift. I don't know. Just it feels like maybe I can actually do something else besides just train. And like in my own mind, it's like being an artist almost. Like I can paint, even though I can't. I have very few skills, so having that little skill makes me feel just a little bit more useful.
So cool. But it's also you learned it. So who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows,
2017.
right? We'll do this again in a couple of years. You'll have some new skill, I'm sure.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna try. Yeah. My girlfriend surfs, and I just after a long time, I never surfed. I'm not a surfer. I had surfed, but I'm still not a surfer. But we went out last week for me. She's very good, but it felt fun. It was good. Like I'm varying. I'm pushing off a little bit here, and it feels nice. So I don't know. Maybe pursue a little of that too. That was nice to do.
Well, actually, that's a good segue just to talk about also your paddle boarding and the events that you host, which you haven't even touched on all of the philanthropic work that you do. This was how many was this one this year? This was
20 years.
I was going to say the 19th. It was the 20th.
Yeah, 20 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You want to tell about that a little bit? And how it was inspired?
Sure. Yeah. So I was before paddleboarding, I was a big kayaker. It was, again, one of these things I love, the idea of using your body to move as a mode of transportation, nothing else. Like, I love the beauty. I saw it was amazing, but I love the fact that you can be your own engine, that you can, take yourself all these places. And it was like a source of freedom for me. So,
love that.
How did we get started? So what happened was I was working with Miracle House back in the day. Miracle House was like a Ronald McDonald House for adults. So they would house people from other areas that were going through cancer treatments in New York City. So we put on this thing. I said, look, I want to do something here. So we hosted a weekend by the sea. We had lobsters, and I took people paddling, and we did great. We raised like $120,000. It was a big success. Wow. But the next day we were cleaning up, like, look at all this waste. This waste is like all these lobsters, like, we can do better than this. And the day before I got married, 2004, I was getting married. I was at the lighthouse waiting for my future wife to show up, and he was a little late. So I was looking at one of the baymen, a local bayman was at the wedding, and I looked out. It was a perfectly clear day, and I see Block Island, and he knew because he would work his fish traps. I would kayak next to me, he'd throw a striped bass in my lap. Like, he gave me fish. I would just do a little I had my own little routine of seeing him. He was out in the morning checking his traps. I would kayak by him. I'd get a striped bass. So he goes, it's 18 miles. Don't try it. So the next day, I got in my kayak and I paddled over there off the lighthouse from the lighthouse to Block Island. The next day, I was obsessed, just like the coffee. I had to. So I had a friend who had a little boat. My dad was in town from the wedding. I said, jump in. So they fished, and I kayaked over to Block Island. And I had an idea while I was going over there. I said, this is no waste. Let's do this as a group. Let's paddle. So I spoke to the executive director, Fred Dawes of Miracle. I said, let's paddle Block Island. He's like, whoa, nobody's going to do that. Yeah. I said, I bet I can find some people. I think we can. Like I said, we can.
Okay, hold on. Sorry to interrupt. How long did it take you?
That took me, so I went to the Old Harbor, so it was 25 miles actually, it wasn't 18. I got to 18 miles, I was there, but then I went around the other side. So that was another 7 miles. So it took me 5.5 hours.
5.5 hours, just you. But did you have somebody alongside you?
Yeah, I had my friend who
Okay.
had a little boat, a little Boston
Right.
Whale,
Okay.
beautiful day,
The
and
whole
it
way.
was great. My dad was there, so
That was the whole way. Okay, cool.
that was the whole way. And then I started thinking about like local surfers, watermen, people that there were
Yeah.
no paddle boards at the time, no stand up. So I had a friend, Marilyn, who paddled with me all the time, and I knew she would go in the double with me. So I think we probably gathered like 18 people, mostly fishermen and surfers. People did it prone, so they laid on their board and they paddled with their arms across.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. We raised a lot of money. We raised like 110,000 the first year. So each paddler had a minimum at the time to raise. I think we had to raise $2,000 a piece. We all did much more than that. And I had a good friend who was very wealthy, and he really helped me. And he would give me up to 10,000, 20,000, and by the end, 100,000. We were getting these incredible donations, and we were helping so many local charities, and it was really fulfilling. I have to say, the idea of being like a 501c3 and a pass-through company, we would read the proposals, we would go there and watch what they do, and then as a board, we would vote on it, how much money we would give, and we had a lot of growing pains. Sometimes we gave too much, sometimes we gave too little. It took us a long time to get that right, and about 18 people. It was a tough one. My friend Dan, one of my best friends, is a commercial fisherman, Dan Farnham, and Dan followed us across with 30,000 pounds of tile fish in his hull. He just came in from a trip, turned around and went right back out with no sleep, and followed us along the whole way. He was our support boat if anyone got tired. That group, that was a pretty hardy group. Marilyn was the only female for the first couple of years. Like it was a big undertaking, but she was dead set. She was ready to do this, and she took on the challenge, because a couple times, I have to say, like, I was a little seasick at times. She would be doing the paddling. We would be in a double kayak, but she couldn't see me that I wasn't doing anything because I was in the back, but she would, do a lot of that work.
Yeah.
So that was fun. But then we wanted to make it more accessible. We brought on like the ocean rescue, and we started to have jet skis, and we made it more accessible for everybody. And I think that's where we really started to gain some ground. We started to have all kinds of people try. They did relays, and their corporations got involved. Again, through their own personal, donations, they brought in different people. We've had amazing support. And through that, we have created an incredible group of people that just show up every year. We're trying to pass the baton. I started this before children, and I think how young we all were when we were doing this, and where we were with the board. And hopefully they'll continue. I mean, we kind of put this off as the last one, but we're hearing a lot of good feedback that people want to continue it. I think that could happen. I for one, am a little tired, and I really want to focus on ways that we can kind of give back through truth. But I hope that it continues on.
How many people did you have at this last one?
The last one, we had about 50 some people, and I think we're right there. Like, we've raised, I think, close to $3 million.
Oh my God, Ed.
Yeah, no, it's really, it was a good thing. Again, I look back on it, I really just, like with everything else, I'm really happy about it. I don't, I'm good with where we are. I really hope that someone can do that, but we're taking on, and a lot of the bones, they're already there. So I hope that it continues.
Wow. So, thanks for sharing. I had no idea that it's grown and you've raised so much money. That's really beyond impressive. So I can understand you're wanting it to continue, clearly. And I'm sure, I don't know, I'm feeling it will.
Yeah, me too. I do. I feel the same way. Like, I hope that there's ways. I mean, truth, we always give for that. We always make sure we have some representation. I mean, I've done the paddle every single year, but I'd like to see some of my trainers and my instructors. I'd like to see my members. It's so great to watch the community out there, working hard for other people. I think it's really important.
That's so inspiring, which is a perfect moment after all of this, and what an incredible journey. And also, by the way, I saw you just announced there's a 7 a.m. class here introducing, and that's to raise money for the community, correct?
That's right. That's right. So we're going to, yes.
I'll be there.
Yes.
So I have to ask you the burning question, Ed, after sharing all this incredible, just your incredible journey, how do you define success?
How do I define success? I have to say 1,000 times, because I've thought about this, because the word is so interesting, right? It's like happy, like what, who's happy? What makes you happy? So for me, success is living an authentic life.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there's no reason to regret or resent anything you did. If you can look back and say, that was a mistake, or I tried really hard, it didn't work out, that's okay. That's a success. I'm a believer that success is finding your path, and it could take your whole life to do that, but go for it.
You're the best, man. I'm so grateful to you. I'm a little choked up right now. You have to forgive me. You're just the real deal, Ed. You always have been, you always will be. And I just feel so lucky to have been able to do this with you. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And of course, I know I should be asking Harvey, but do you want to share where we can find you? I mean, Truth Training in East Hampton.
Truth Training in East Hampton is probably about it.
Yeah.
Right now,
Okay.
This is, all those journeys have led me right back to, it's like the alchemist. I'm right back there.
Totally.
I'm still doing a lot of training. I'm still seeing a lot of people, really going into joint health right now. That's sort of where I'm at, really focusing, Marion, like on those bands and really getting those hips and shoulders right. That's where I'm at right now. Like really the sub basement of everything. It's even more basic than the other stuff we were doing.
Totally. So good. And at Truth Training in East Hampton, and on Instagram, Truth Training, or Ed Cashin. I think it's just your name, right?
I think so, yeah.
And you're the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.